the silence dark, whispers in the midnight park. The night is cold, there's no escape. Ghostly figures take their shape.
Hey, and welcome back, fellow horror enthusiasts. It's Real Talk, the Horror Edition, the podcast where we celebrate all things dark, disturbing, and downright terrifying in the world of cinema. I'm your host, Josh, and I'm thrilled to have you join me as we venture into the shadowy corners of horror, one film at a time. Whether you're a hardcore horror fan or someone just dipping into the blood-soaked waters of the genre, this is your space to explore, analyze, and appreciate the art of the macabre. Today, we continue our deep dive into the twisted filmography of a modern horror auteur, Rob Zombie. His films have divided audiences, thrilled genre fans, and left a unique mark on the landscape of horror cinema. For those unfamiliar with Rob Zombie, his career started in music as the frontman of White Zombie, a band that combined heavy metal with a love of grindhouse aesthetics and B-movie horror. When Zombie transitioned to filmmaking in the early 2000s, he brought the same gritty, chaotic energy to the screen. His movies are unmistakable, raw, violent, and dripping with a love for Americana's darker side. From roadside carnivals to backwoods killers, Zombie's films often feel like grimy love letters to exploitation cinema. But beneath the gore and chaos, they explore themes like family, survival, and the decay of the American dream. This podcast series is dedicated to unpacking Rob Zombie's contributions to the horror genre. Each episode focuses on one of his films and dives into the visual style, narrative themes, and unforgettable moments that define his work. We've been tackling his films in chronological order, starting with his explosive debut, House of a Thousand Corpses, a psychedelic nightmare that introduced us to the Firefly family and Zombie's chaotic vision. From there, we moved to The Devil's Rejects, a shocking yet strangely poignant sequel that stripped away the surrealism in favor of gritty, emotional storytelling. Both films showcase Zombie's ability to blend homage and originality, carving out a space that's as much a tribute to grindhouse cinema as it is an evolution of it. Today, we're taking a step into 31, his 2016 grindhouse-inspired bloodbath that takes a no-holds-barred approach to the horror. This film is Zombie at his most visceral, leaning fully into his love of carnivals, chaos, and carnage. So grab your popcorn, and maybe something stronger, and let's dive into the world of 31. Buckle up, because this is going to be a bloody tilt-a-whirl. Rob Zombie's 31 debuted in 2016, a grindhouse-inspired horror film that doubles down on his signature style of unapologetic brutality and chaotic storytelling. Starring a cast of zombie regulars, including Sherry Moon Zombie, Jeff Daniel Phillips, and Richard Brake, alongside horror veteran and Michael Myers' Dr. Loomis, Malcolm McDowell, the film plunges viewers into a blood-soaked nightmare. The plot follows a group of carnival workers traveling through the rural South on Halloween in 1976. Their journey takes a horrific turn when they are abducted and thrust into a twisted game of survival called 31. In this sadistic contest, they're trapped in a labyrinthine industrial complex and must fend off a series of maniacal killers, each more depraved than the last. As they are hunted for the amusement of a group of wealthy, aristocratic gamblers, Zombie wastes no time here pulling us into the grimy, nihilistic world he's created. From the opening frame to the blood-soaked finale, 31 delivers an unrelenting barrage of violence, carnage, and mayhem that will either leave you exhilarated, exhausted, or in the best world, both. The origins of 31 stem from Zombie's desire to create something that fully embodied the raw, chaotic energy of grindhouse cinema. Unlike his earlier films, which often had studio backing, 31 was a crowd-funded project. Zombie turned to his fan base for support, utilizing platforms like Kickstarter to bring his vision to life. This approach not only gave him greater creative control, but also reinforced his connection with his dedicated fan base. However, this independence came with challenges. Working with a limited budget meant Zombie had to scale back certain aspects of the production, leaning heavily on his resourcefulness to craft a film that still packed that visceral punch. The film premiered at Sundance, where it polarized audiences and critics alike. Some praised the relentless energy and commitment to the grindhouse roots, while others criticized its thin plot, excessive violence, and lack of any character depth. One of the most notable controversies surrounding 31 was its initial NC-17 rating due to its graphic content. Zombie fought hard to tone down the violence just enough to secure an R rating. But even in its final form, the film remains one of his most extreme works. Despite its polarizing reception, 31 has earned a cult following among fans of Rob Zombie's unapologetically gritty style. For many, this film represents the essence of what makes his work stand out in the horror genre, a fearless embrace of the grotesque, combined with a raw, unfiltered aesthetic that harkens back to the golden age of grindhouse cinema. There's also a deeper layer of interest in how 31 reflects Zombie's artistic evolution. It's clear he used this film to double down on the themes and visuals he's been honing throughout his career. If you're a fan of his previous work, 31 feels like a natural, though bloodier, extension of his cinematic world. 31 then is less about intricate storytelling and more about creating an experience. This is Zombie letting loose, unbound by conventional narrative expectations, and delivering a film that revels in this raw and chaotic energy. Whether you love it or hate it, it is undeniably Rob Zombie at his most untamed. At its core, 31 is a brutal exploration of survival, a theme Rob Zombie threads through many of his films. Here, survival isn't just a struggle, it's a psychological descent into despair and chaos. The game-like structure of the story forces the characters into a series of life-or-death confrontations, stripping away any pretense of safety or hope. Zombie examines human endurance through a nihilistic lens, questioning not just if characters can survive, but whether survival itself holds any meaning in such a relentlessly bleak world. Another theme that's woven into 31 is Zombie's trademark fixation on the decay of Americana. The film's grimy, dilapidated carnival aesthetic serves as a microcosm of a larger cultural rot. The carnival workers themselves feel like relics of a bygone era, cast aside by society and thrust into this horrific ordeal as a grotesque form of entertainment for the aristocratic gamblers. Through this, Zombie offers a stark commentary on class disparity, voyeurism, and the commodification of violence. Visually, 31 is unmistakably a Rob Zombie film. His signature style is turned up to 11 here, with a heavy reliance on saturated colors, harsh lighting, and rapid, chaotic editing that immerses us in the sheer intensity of the action. The setting itself becomes a character, an abandoned industrial labyrinth filled with filth, rust, and shadows that heighten the sense of claustrophobia and dread. Zombie's unflinching approach to violence is another defining element. He doesn't shy away from showing the brutality of the kills or the desperation of the victims. The blood-soaked action is messy, visceral, and deliberately overwhelming, and it makes us feel as trapped and disoriented as the characters themselves. But what truly gives 31 its unique flavor is the rawness. This is not a polished film, and that's where its charm lies. The chaotic editing, the over-the-top villains, and the relentless pace all contribute to an experience that feels intentionally unrefined. Like a grindhouse fever dream brought to life, Zombie revels in this chaos. He creates a visual and thematic intensity that challenges us to keep up or get lost in the carnage. In 31, Zombie doesn't just present horror. He immerses us in it, making the themes and style inseparable from the raw, visceral experience of the film itself. In 31, the characters are a mix of gritty archetypes and over-the-top caricatures. But it's the performances that bring these roles to life, some more successfully than others. The clear standout is Richard Brake as Doomhead, a sadistic killer who steals every scene he's in. From the moment he delivers the film's chilling opening monologue, drenched in menace and nihilistic glee, Doomhead establishes himself as one of Zombie's most memorable creations. Brake infuses the character with a disturbing charisma, blending Shakespearean eloquence with unhinged violence. Whether he's delivering a philosophical tirade or carving up his prey, Doomhead is utterly captivating, terrifying, yet impossible to look away from. Sherry Moon Zombie, a mainstay in her husband's films, takes on the role of Charlie, the film's determined and resourceful protagonist. Now, some argue that Zombie's frequent casting of his wife can feel repetitive, but Sherry Moon Zombie delivers a solid performance here. Charlie is one of the few characters who feels grounded in this chaos, balancing moments of vulnerability with a steely resolve. Her journey through the film is harrowing, and she sells the desperation of her fight for survival with a conviction. Jeff Daniel Phillips as Roscoe, one of Charlie's companions, brings a rugged charm to his role, serving as a protective figure within the group. While his character has some emotional weight, like many of the others, he doesn't get enough development to fully shine. The rest of the carnival crew is colorful and entertaining, but often fall into the realm of stereotypes rather than fully fleshed out characters. Lawrence Hilton Jacobs as Panda and Meg Foster as Venus bring some personality to the group, but their roles feel more like cannon fodder for the film's sadistic game than characters with meaningful arcs. On the villainous side, Zombie populates 31 with an array of twisted killers, each more bizarre than the last. From the psychotic clowns Sickhead and Psychohead to the deranged brother-sister duo Deathhead and Sexhead, these characters are undeniably entertaining, but lack the depth to leave a lasting impression. They serve as grotesque obstacles rather than fully realized antagonists, with Doomhead standing as the clear exception. This imbalance in character development is one of the film's weaker points. While the performances are solid, particularly Brake's, many of the characters feel like they exist solely to serve the carnage rather than add any narrative weight. That said, it's clear Zombie crafted these roles to fit his grindhouse vision. The characters may not always be deep, but they're certainly memorable, with larger-than-life personalities and performances that match the film's chaotic energy. If you are here for raw, unfiltered madness, the cast of 31 delivers in spades, even if some of the players are overshadowed by the sheer force of Doomhead's terrifying presence. 31 delivers a visceral, unapologetic ride that fully embraces the grindhouse roots. This commitment to its style is where the film truly shines. Rob Zombie's direction ensures a relentless pace that rarely lets up, plunging us into a high-octane nightmare from the opening scene. There's a rawness to the film that feels deliberate, as if Zombie is daring us to keep up with the chaos he's unleashing. So for fans of unfiltered, no-holds-barred horror, this gritty aesthetic is a major strength. The atmosphere is another standout element. The labyrinthine industrial setting is both oppressive and immersive, creating a claustrophobic environment that feels like a character in itself. Combined with Zombie's saturated visuals and frenetic editing, the film envelops you in its dark, twisted world. The relentless violence, while divisive, underscores the sense of desperation and terror that defines the character's plight. Then there's the music. Zombie, with his roots in heavy metal, knows how to use sound to amplify tension and energy. The soundtrack complements the on-screen chaos, blending eerie melodies with adrenaline-pumping tracks that really heighten the intensity of the key moments. However, 31's not without its weaknesses. Chief among them is the film's thin plot. The game-like structure of survive or die provides a very basic framework, but it doesn't leave much room for any narrative depth or complexity. The story often feels like it's playing second fiddle to the spectacle of violence, which can leave some viewers feeling disconnected from the stakes. Character depth is another area where the film stumbles some. While Richard Brake's Doomhead stands out as a compelling antagonist, many of the other characters, both heroes and villains, come across as underdeveloped. The protagonists' backstories are hinted at but never fully explored, which makes it harder to invest in their survival. Similarly, the other killers, while visually striking, often feel like caricatures rather than fully realized threats. The film's relentless focus on brutality can be a double-edged sword. While the violence is integral to the grindhouse aesthetic, its sheer excess risks desensitizing the audience. Some moments feel more gratuitous than impactful, and this overindulgence can overshadow the moments where the film's tension and horror genuinely shine. Another criticism often leveled at 31 is its chaotic editing. While it does add to the disorienting atmosphere, the frenetic cuts can sometimes make action scenes a little hard to follow. This style choice, while intentional, may frustrate viewers looking for a more polished visual experience. In the end, though, 31 is a film of extremes. Its strengths lie in its raw energy, immersive grindhouse aesthetic, while its weaknesses stem from its lack of narrative depth and over-reliance on shock value. For some, this balance is exhilarating. For others, just overwhelming. Either way, it's an unfiltered slice of Zombie's unique vision, whether that's for better or worse. When I first watched 31, I'll be honest, it felt really overwhelming. From the opening moments, this film bombards you with relentless violence, those chaotic visuals, and a frenetic pace that gives little time to breathe. It was like being thrown into a blender set to puree, and I walked away unsure how I felt about it. The sheer intensity of the experience left me both exhausted and slightly bewildered. But here's the thing about Zombies films. They really linger. They burrow into your mind, refusing to be forgotten, and this one is no exception. On rewatch, I began to see a method in the madness. It's clear that Zombie wasn't just throwing blood and guts at the screen for shock value. He was crafting a strange love letter to the grimy, unapologetic world of the 1970s grindhouse midnight cinema. What stood out to me the second time around was Zombie's commitment to his vision. 31 isn't trying to cater to everyone. That's where its charm lies. This film is raw, abrasive, and entirely unfiltered. It's made by someone who knows exactly what he wants to say, even if he's screaming it in your face. This isn't a movie that cares about mass appeal. It's a movie that feels authentic even when it falters. And the grindhouse aesthetic really started to click for me on that second watch. The grimy industrial setting, the over-the-top killers, and the saturated, chaotic visuals all work together to create this world that feels like a slow descent into hell. And while the story itself might lack depth, the atmosphere is so oppressive and so immersive that it almost doesn't matter. And I also found myself appreciating the performances more. Richard Brake in particular, he's mesmerizing. His monologues, his presence, and his sheer menace, he's the glue that really holds the film together. Even when the plot wavers, Doomhead's terrifying charisma kept me engaged. That said, I can't ignore the film's flaws. The thin plot and lack of character development stand out even more on rewatch, especially when you're not as distracted by the shock and chaos. But in a strange way, these shortcomings can feel almost intentional. Sort of like Zombie is daring us to focus on this visceral experience rather than the finer details. Ultimately, 31 feels like a movie that knows exactly what it is. It's not trying to reinvent the wheel or win over critics. It's here to deliver a grindhouse spectacle that revels in its own excess. And while it is far from perfect, there's something admirable about its audacity. For fans of Zombie's work or those who appreciate the raw, uncompromising spirit of grindhouse horror, 31 is worth a watch. It won't hit every note perfectly, but it is a bold, unflinching piece of filmmaking that demands your attention. And for better or worse, it's a film you won't soon forget. Now, if you're wondering whether 31 is the right film for you, the answer lies in your tolerance for chaos and your appreciation for grindhouse aesthetics. This is a movie made for a very specific audience. Fans of over-the-top, blood-soaked cinema that doesn't hold back. If you enjoy films that feel like they're ripped straight out of the midnight movie lineup, complete with exaggerated violence, colorful villains, and a relentless pacing, then 31 should definitely be on your watch list. This film is not for those seeking a traditional narrative or deep character exploration. It's for horror fans who revel in the grotesque, those who can appreciate style over substance and aren't turned off by raw, unfiltered brutality. So if you've enjoyed other works by Rob Zombie, particularly House of a Thousand Corpses or Devil's Rejects, you'll find 31 to be a natural continuation of his grindhouse-inspired vision. Now, to get the most out of 31, you need to approach it with the right mindset. This isn't a film designed to be dissected for hidden meanings or subtle storytelling. This is meant to be experienced. Go into it expecting visceral thrills rather than nuanced drama. Embrace the chaos and let yourself be swept up in the energy of it all. Set the mood before hitting play. Dim the lights, crank up the sound, and prepare yourself for an adrenaline-fueled descent into madness. Watching this film with the grindhouse tradition in mind, a genre that prioritizes shock value, outrageous characters, and a carnival-like atmosphere, will really enhance your enjoyment. And perhaps, most importantly, take it for what it is. This isn't Rob Zombie trying to win over skeptics or critics. It's him creating the kind of horror he loves, and it's best enjoyed with that context in mind. When it comes down to it, 31 is a polarizing film, but for its target audience, it hits the mark. It's a visceral, unapologetic homage to the grindhouse genre, packed with enough gore, grit, and intensity to satisfy hardcore horror fans. For me, this is a solid 6 out of 10. Not perfect by any stretch, but undeniably entertaining if you are into this particular brand of horror. I enjoy it. For fans of Zombie's work, or those looking for brutal, blood-soaked thrill rides, this is worth a watch. That said, it's not for everyone. Like all of his films so far, excessive violence, thin plotting, and chaotic editing, if those aren't your thing, sit this one out. But for those of you that are ready to embrace its madness, 31 is a wild, unforgettable experience that stands as a testament to Rob Zombie's unflinching vision. And now, my fellow horror fans, it is your turn. What are your thoughts on 31? Did you revel in its grindhouse glory? Or did the relentless chaos leave you wanting more depth? Maybe you're somewhere in the middle, appreciating Zombie's vision while still craving a stronger narrative. I'd love to hear your take. Drop a comment, reach out on social media. Let's keep the conversation alive, because as always, horror is better when shared. If you're a diehard Zombie fan, I want to know, how does 31 rank in his filmography for you? Is Doomhead your new favorite villain, or do you still prefer the Firefly family? And if you're new to Zombie's work, was this a welcome introduction, or did it leave you hesitant to explore more? Let's dig into it together. And speaking of the Firefly family, next week we're diving headfirst into 3 from Hell, the long-awaited 3rd installment in Zombie's Firefly trilogy. If you thought the brutality and chaos of the Devil's Rejects were intense, get ready for another dose of unhinged mayhem. We'll be exploring how Zombie ties up his most iconic characters' storylines, what works, where it may stumble, and trust me, it's an episode you're not going to want to miss. As always, thank you so much for tuning in to Real Talk Horror Edition. It means the world to me to have you along for these deep dives into the creepy, the chaotic, and the downright terrifying corners of cinema. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you're listening so you don't miss a moment of the madness. And hey, if you're feeling generous, leave us a review. It helps the show grow and brings more horror fans into the fold. You can also follow me on social media to stay up to date on all things Real Talk. Plus, get a sneak peek at upcoming episodes, some behind-the-scenes tidbits, and just general film trivia and things to keep us entertained. Until next time, keep the lights dim, the popcorn ready, and your love of horror alive. This is Josh signing off with one final reminder to stay creepy.
Creeping through the silence dark, whispers in the midnight park. The night is cold, there's no escape. Ghostly figures take their shape. Play a twisted game. Fear and terror stake their claim. Footsteps follow close behind. Haunting thoughts invade your mind. Run away, but they won't go. In the darkness, fear will grow. Midnight shadows come to play. In your dreams, they'll always stay. Windows rattle, doors they creak. Ghostly whispers start to speak. Every corner hides a fear. Close your eyes, they're drawing near. Candles flicker, spirits call. In the night they'll take it all. Midnight strikes, the clocks rewind. Nightmares now are intertwined. They're away, but they won't go. In the darkness, fear will grow. Midnight shadows come to play. In your dreams, they'll always stay.